Okay. So now, as we're sitting here looking for our measurables,
Mm-hmm.
and we realize attaboys aren't measurable,
Nope.
we can measure coming to work.
Mm-hmm.
We can measure how long they stay at work.
Mm-hmm.
We can't really measure job performance per se because it's not a static scale because one person's ability is not going to be the same as another person's ability.
Mm-hmm.
All you can say is, oh, they got that done.
Yeah.
Now, how long it took them, how long they just sat in their office and whistled Dixie while they were like, all right, it's supposed to take 4 hours. I got this done in 13 minutes.
Yeah.
Now I'm just going to sit here and wait.
Mm-hmm.
So now that's where we start coming into some of that harder stuff to quantify. What would you quantify as a kid hitting another kid?
Making physical contact.
So what if I look like one of those guys from the old Looney Tunes cartoons and I just kind of like paw at him and I touch him with my hand?
Okay. Mm, technically, that would fit the definition, but that wasn't what I had in mind.
But if I was going off of what you wrote on paper,
Then yes, that would count.
how would that affect your count?
It would make my count probably look a lot higher than what it actually is.
So what would happen if me and you were both using that same paper, but you go, if it's not forceful, he didn't hit him. And I go, well, the paper says if they make contact, but we're not having this discussion to each other. We're watching from two different rooms
Mm-hmm.
with a wall between us, so we can't see when the other person's making a mark or anything.
They are going to be way off,
Uh huh.
and it's not going to do you any good.
Uh huh.
So you're going to have a whole lot of nothing.
Uh huh.
So then you need to make a new definition.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So we would have to make an actual definition that actually works.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm. But you're not gonna. My brain says anytime that the kid makes contact with another kid and it leaves a mark, but you're not gonna know if it leaves a mark at first. Is the problem with that definition.
And what if you got somebody who doesn't turn red or doesn't bruise easily
Then that's gonna mess up your count.
because they're not a peach?
Mm-hmm. And that's not very helpful. Um. I feel like this should be very, very simple, and I'm just not getting it.
It can never be very, very simple because you have to be able to explain the definition so that it's clear to other people who are trying to use what you're telling them.
Yes. If a kid makes, okay, what am I measuring again? Just to make sure.
Just a hit.
Just a hit.
What's
Okay.
yeah, what would be considered a hit?
If a kid makes contact with another kid in an aggressive manner, that would count. But you can't define aggressive. I don't know.
So now you're seeing the difficulty in tracking a behavior. Okay, how would you define a kid talking?
Anytime you hear them make a noise. Anytime you hear them make anytime that they say an actual like word, the noises don't count. Like it has to be a word.
So if I'm sitting in class and as long as I don't say a word, I just go, ah, 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 ah.
I would just count that as communicating, not talking. Okay, so anytime they make a sound. Anytime they make a sound with their mouth. I'm trying so hard and I'm getting nowhere. God bless. How to define talking? Anytime that they, I know you're already just like thinking of ways to make this definition not work. Anytime that they make a noise, anytime that they say something with their mouth would be talking.
Ooh, 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 ma'am, 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 ma'am. Teacher, 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 teacher.
I don't know. I've given several definitions and none of them have worked.
Something to the effect of anytime they verbalize a sound or word without getting permission first.
Okay.
Because if they're talking to the teacher and she's giving them permission, would they get a mark against them for that?
No, because they have permission. I think I'm thinking way too hard about this.
Often we do overthink stuff. We either overthink or we underthink, but there's not, because you have to consider what will other people think, say, or do.
Mm-hmm.
Is my definition clear enough for somebody else to be able, if they looked at this incident on film, to come up with the same conclusion that I came up with? Or the same conclusion that somebody else came up with by looking at it and using that definition?
No, none of my definitions will work for that.
So it sounds crazy, but now this is that flip side of trying to understand. We gave a direction and we cannot understand why the youth care worker cannot understand this simple ass direction. And then you realize that direction really wasn't that simple. And even worse, we may have told them what not to do and what to actually do.
Yep.
Sit in your seat and don't talk. But we didn't say don't make monkey noises, don't drum, don't throw pieces of paper at each other. When we could have said something like, Johnny, sit in your seat, remain quiet, and do your work as you've been assigned. Which is a lot clearer than all of the don't do's.
Yeah.
Because you said don't do this. There's a billion other things I could do.
Mm-hmm.
I could now parade around the classroom like I'm a pachyderm.
Pretty much.
You didn't say don't do that.
Yeah. They're real good at finding those loopholes.
But that's because we didn't give clear directions.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're mad. You know what I meant. No, I did what you said.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So this is where it's kind of that lesson in, because at some point you're going to have to turn around and teach the youth care workers because they're going to be so frustrated. So-and-so never listens to me. Well, what did you tell them to do? I told them don't do this. Did they do that? No.
Okay.
They knew what I meant. But did they do what you said? Yes, but... So-and-so treats me so bad. So-and-so never listens to what I say. They listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when you're going to have to be able to communicate with them, even though you want to put your head through your computer screen. They're not hearing what I'm saying. Oh, they're hearing it. They're just not doing that translation in their head.
Yep. They are doing exactly what you told them.
So yes, that is what they will do, and that's what it'll turn into.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's why instead of saying what don't do, you need to actually give them directions on what they should be doing. Johnny, I need you to sit in your desk, get your pencil, start doing your classwork, ask the teacher if you have a question, and leave your peers alone.
Yeah.
Well, what did I ask you to do, Johnny? You told me to sit in my seat, get my pencil, do my schoolwork.
Leave everybody alone and ask the teacher if I need help.
Now there is no question of, I didn't know what to do.
Nope, because it's very clear.
But now when we start dealing with our youth care workers, we start doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because you start giving very clear directions, just like we have to give very clear definitions. Everything has to be very clear and very concise, so then we can go to the next thing. And your head is like, it can't be this complicated.
Yes.
It's only that complicated because we haven't started to think like that in our normal day. We want to take the shortcut, but the shortcut gives us more work.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does.
Versus if we put it all out in the beginning, then on the back end, we don't have to do as much to try to get around it.
Now my brain hurts.
Why's your brain hurt?
Because I made that way more complicated than what it needed to be.
But you did what most of us do until we figure it out. It's like when you started your social work classes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it that didn't make sense because you wanted to think in a certain fashion. Once you got past thinking in that fashion, you were like, why was this ever so hard? Why couldn't I figure this out?
Yep.
And now you're just like, I just want this done. I just want it done. I'm going to go get licensed and I'm going to do this and it's over.
Yes. Yes. My brain still hurts.
And why does your brain hurt?
Because I made this way too difficult.
Welcome to the wonderful world of we all do silly stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
That's the world we live in. That's what we do.
Yep.
All right, so do you have any more questions?
No.